Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com. This is episode 3 of the video series where I'm going over all the plugins put out by Nik Software. In this episode, we're going to go over Silver Efex Pro 2. Now, I'm going to be doing it on this image. I already converted it to a TIFF image to save time. Here is the original RAW file. And in Lightroom, I did all the adjustments I normally would have done. I did all the basic adjustments, tone curve. I don't think I did any HSL. Yeah, I did some HSL adjustments. I didn't do any split toning. I did do some sharpening and noise reduction. I enabled the profile corrections. I removed chromatic aberration. I did not do any effects. That is the only thing I didn't do that I normally would have done. I probably would have put a slight dark vignette on this, but I could always do that after I'm done in Silver Efex Pro 2, or I could actually put the vignette on the image inside of Silver Efex Pro 2. You'll see that in a minute. And camera calibration. On this image, I didn't do any adjustment at all, but if I were, I would do it before I sent it over to the plugin. Now, to send it to the plugin, as I mentioned, I already converted it to a TIFF file. And again, we could send it over 3 different ways. We could right-click on the thumbnail that's at the bottom of the screen and go up to Edit In and go down to Silver Efex Pro 2. Or we could right-click on the image itself, go to Edit In, Silver Efex Pro 2. Or we could go up to Photo, Edit In, Silver Efex Pro 2. Now, we're going to edit the original. Again, I converted it already. If you shoot RAW, which I hope you do, you would have to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments because Silver Efex Pro 2 does not handle the RAW file. So you'd have to convert it to a TIFF file first. If you shoot JPEG, I would encourage you to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments as well. That way, if a week later, 2 weeks later, you decide you don't like what you did in Silver Efex Pro 2, you'll still have the original file to fall back on. So we're going to edit this original, which, as I mentioned, I already converted the RAW file. So I have the RAW file as backup. Now, if you're familiar with Nik Software and you saw the previous 2 videos I did, you can see the layout is pretty much the same, but we'll just go over it real quick. Over in the left-hand panel, we have at the top presets, and they're kept in folders. And right now, we're looking at all the presets that are in Silver Efex Pro 2. When you first initiate Silver Efex Pro 2, it'll give you a neutral grayscale image, and that's what we're seeing right now. Then we could go through the presets and try to see if there's something in there that we like. Typically, what I will do is I will look at the presets first and try to find something that appeals to me, and then I'll adjust it from there. Very often in a landscape image such as this, I'll look for a preset that really makes the sky pop. I'll pick that, and then I'll do adjustments over on the right-hand panel for the rest of the image. And that's probably what I'm going to do on this image, and we'll get to that in a minute. Below the preset library tab, we have a custom tab, and that's where we could create our own preset, and I'll show you how to do that as we go on here. We could also export any presets that we created. So you could export them and share them. Maybe you have Silver Efex Pro 2 on 2 different computers. So you could create presets, let's say on my MacBook Pro, which I'm on now. I could export them and then import them with this tab onto my iMac whenever I want, or I could give them to a friend or whatever. So that's custom and imported. And down here is the history, and it will just keep a running history as we process the image, and we could just jump back to any point if we feel we need to. Now we're going to go back up to the preset library, and we're going to be doing presets in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to show you a little more of the workspace. Let me pick a preset just to show you. I'm going to pick this one here, underexposed. Now we have different view options. Right now we're viewing the processed image. If I want to look at the neutral gray image, I could click this little compare button, and hold it in, and you can see there is the original grayscale neutral image. Uh, Alternately, I could click right here where it says split preview, and you'll see the original image on the left and the processed image on the right. And you could move this slider around to see how it affects the entire image. Or we could do this side by side top and bottom view right here with the original image on top, the processed image on the bottom, or we could click right here and it will go side by side with the original on the left. We're going to go back to the single processed image. That's typically what I will use. Now, over to the right of that, there's different zoom options, and you could just, zoom way in. If you do, you get this little navigator here, and you could drag this little box to look at a specific part of the image if you so choose. Um, or you could zoom out if you'd prefer. Or you could just click right there and it will go to the fit fill position. This little light bulb right here will change the border shading around the image. So you just click it and it will keep toggling through different shades of gray and white and black. All right, now as I mentioned, what I usually do is I will go through all the presets, or a few of the presets at least, and I will find one, hopefully, that I like, that I think does something to the image that appeals to me. So we looked at underexposed, we'll look at overexposed, high contrast harsh, high contrast smooth, high structure harsh. I like this one a lot. I find that I use this preset quite often. So because of that, I could put it in my favorites. You see right now I have 0 presets in my favorites. What I could do to put it in my favorites, you can see there's a little star right here. Just click on the star and it will colorize the star, and you can see now it's in my favorites. So I could easily find it in the future. So if you want to, um, if you find a preset you like and you want it to be in your favorites, all you have to do is click on that star. And if you want to take it out of your favorites, just click on the star again, and as you can see, it removed it from my favorites. You see there's 0 there now. But as I mentioned, I like it, so we're going to leave it there. But in the meantime, we'll just keep looking. There's a high structure smooth. There's high key looks, things like that. Low key looks, kind of like that. There's a really low key look. And as I mentioned, you could just keep going through. I think for the sake of time, I'm just going to jump back up and use that one that I put in my favorites. But as you can see, there's 38 different presets, um, to choose from. And then as you get to the bottom, there's some toned presets that give a tone to the image, and they have some different borders also. And you could do that all over here, customized, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you find a preset you like, by all means, just use it and then click save and you're done. But what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my favorites. I'm going to pick high structure harsh because I like the sky in this image. Now, or in this preset, I should say. Now, I want to process this some more. I mean, the sky's okay, but the rest of it is kind of blah. So we're going to go over to the right-hand panel and do some adjustments over here. And we have 5 different tabs. There's global adjustments. Anything I do there will affect the entire image. There's selective adjustments, and you remember that from previous videos where I could add control points to the image and process a specific part of the image. In Viveza, we use those. There's color filters, which is typical when we shot black and white film photography. Often we would put color filters on the camera lens, and it would really change the way the film looked. Quite often we want dramatic skies, we put a yellow or red filter on. Skin tones, we put green on. Sometimes we put red on for skin tone, stuff like that. And you could do that, simulate that here in Silver Efex Pro too. My little beef is, and you'll see in a minute, I really wish color filters was like first, because it seems like you're adjusting everything globally. You're doing some selective adjustments. Then you're going to all of a sudden put a color filter on, and it will kind of change everything you did. So I would suggest if you're interested in color filters that you do it almost right away. So we'll take a look while I'm here. We have no filter at all. Then we have red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. So as you might expect, if I pick a blue filter, it affects the sky. There's blue in the sky. So this was what would happen with film. If I put a blue filter on, it really makes the sky super bright. Uh, then we could go back from there. If you want green filter, it's going to make the grass, in this case, very bright. With skin tones, it makes skin tones relatively dark. There's a yellow filter, and that usually enhances skies, as you could see. And there's the orange filter, and that enhances the sky. And then there's a red filter, and that enhances the sky even more. Now, you if you don't want to use any of these filters, like these specific color filters, let's say you go to this no filter here, you actually could dial in the exact color maybe you want. Just turn strength up a little bit so you could see it, and then move this slider around, and you'll see it change color. This is the actual hue of the virtual filter that you're using. And as you move it along, you might see it do something you like. And if so, let's say you like it here, then you could change the strength to dial in the exact amount of the effect that will be applied to the image. That is actually what I do sometimes. I don't necessarily just pick a filter up here like red or something like that. I will actually dial in a specific hue and strength if I do it at all. And tell you the truth, I do not use the filters too often. So that's how we use color filters. And as I mentioned, I kind of wish that they were further up as far as this right-hand panel, because the way the panel is laid out, it's implied you should do everything in order, because it after color filters, film types, and after film types is finishing adjustments. So it's implied you start at the top and work your way down towards the bottom. But the fact is, you could do these in any order you want. So it's up to you, but I generally, if I'm going to mess around with color filters, I'll do it early in the workflow. So let's back up a bit, and we're going to go back up to global adjustments. Now, as we did, we picked this preset, this high structure, because I like what it did to the sky. Now, any of these adjustments in global is going to affect the entire image. For example, the brightness tab here, slider, I'm sorry, as you can see, just affects the entire image. So if I feel that brightness needs to be adjusted at all, I will move the brightness slider. I could also target a specific part of the image. I'm going to double click on that right on the slider to reset it. I could, let's say, just bring highlights down, as you could see, like that. Now these are more subtle adjustments. Bring highlights up if I so chose. We're double click on the slider to reset it. Midtones have a more profound adjustment as I move it. You can see. Shadows will affect just the darker areas of the image. And you can see in this image, there's not a lot of dark areas in this specific image. Dynamic brightness is interesting. It kind of adds brightness, but does not tend to take away the contrast. So it keeps the image, if you have a lot of contrast in it, will keep the contrast there. So I often use dynamic brightness over the blanket brightness, I'll call it up here. In this case, I'm not going to use it. I don't think, well, let me see. Maybe just bring it down just a little bit. Maybe just to affect that sky just a little more. Then we have a group of contrast controls. We have an overall contrast control, which is very powerful, as you could see. Then we have one where we could just amplify the whites. We could just bring the whites up or bring them down. Now this was already adjusted with the preset to 26%. You could see that with, I don't know if you noticed, the preset left all the brightness sliders, this preset left all the brightness sliders at their default position. The contrast sliders, on the other hand, were moved, as you could see. So, you know, kind of remember where they were if you want to mess around with them. And maybe right there. Soft contrast is a kind of an just contrast to me. I mean, it really, I don't know. It seems to affect the shadows a little more than it does the highlights, in my opinion. So it's up to you whether or not you want to, move that around a little bit. It's up to you. Just see if slide them around, see if you like it. If you mess up here, just click back onto your preset and it will reset everything back to what the preset had it at. Now, of course, I shouldn't have did that, but I could actually go to the history panel and you could see all these different things I was doing here. And we go back to soft contrast, which is right there, which is the step right before I put I clicked on the preset again. So it's right there, and it brought our image back to where I had it. All right, so we're getting through. Now, structure like to use. I like to use structure on the image, but I'm not going to do it. We have, this is, a high structure preset. So you can see we have very defined elements in the image. The clouds are very well defined. The blades of grass are very well defined. So I'm really not going to do much with that right now. Now, what I'd like to alert you to is tonality protection. If you clip anywhere, so you're clipping the highlights or you're clipping the shadows, you could protect it with these two sliders. Really all you're doing is stepping back that um, part of the image. So if you're clipping highlights and you move this slider to the right, you're just stepping back the highlights a little bit so they don't clip. And similarly for the shadows, if you're clipping there, just moving that slider to the right and you'll back the shadows off a little bit. Now, how can you tell if you're clipping? Go down to where it says loop in histogram. It kind of defaults to the loop mode, and you can see we could drag it around. It's really a small little area here to look, especially if you have a 15-inch MacBook Pro that I'm working on right now. It's very difficult to see. So I usually don't do anything with the loop control. I will go to the histogram. And right now you could see the histogram has space on the left and space on the right. So I'm not really clipping at all. But let's try to make this clip on purpose. I'm going to turn highlights all the way up. Now you could see that we're clipping on the right. The right-hand side of the histogram is pegged over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to tonality protection, and I'm going to go to the highlight slider, and you're going to watch the histogram. It's going to shift the right part of the histogram to the left. And you can see now we have space there, so we're not clipping anymore. Usually what I will do is I will just eyeball that, and then I will take the slider and I'll just inch it back and forth until I get the histogram to just kiss the edge. Now in this case the right edge, because I'm working with highlights. If I was working with the shadows, it would be the left edge. And as you can see there, it looks like it's just about kissing the right hand edge. So that to me would be a perfect adjustment for the tonality protection of the highlights. And that's how I would suggest you do it also. Now I'm going to reset this slider here because I just did that for demonstration purposes. So that's how the tonality protection works. Now, I don't know really if I stressed at the beginning, I don't really do a lot of global adjustments. I usually like to use the control points and adjust specific parts of the image. And what I'll do is I'll find a preset that does a good chunk of the image. In this case, I like what the preset did to the sky. I want to work on the grass though. So I am going to work with selective adjustments. And if you remember from Viveza 2, we have control points. So we're just going to grab a control point right here, and I want to put it on the grass. Now what it will do, it will affect the exact tones of the area you put it. So if I put it on one of these lighter blades of grass, it's going to affect the tones that are all like near that, near those lighter blades of grass. If I put it on the darker blades of grass, it'll affect just those darker tones that are in the grass. What I want to do, my game plan for this image, is I want to make the lighter parts of the grass a little lighter, and I want to make the darker parts of the grass a little darker. So I have this control point. I'm going to start out with the lighter parts of the grass. So I'm going to put it right there. I think. And what we're going to do is right away, I think we're just going to go right to brightness, and I'm going to tweak it up. And you can see how it's making the lighter parts of the grass lighter. This top slider right here is the actual size that is affecting the image. I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it down just a little bit more so it's not really messing with the sky. And you can see as I move it around, now I'm going to go in the dark. See how it made the dark part lighter there? Because I was on dark. Now I'm on light. It's making the light lighter. That's what I want. So I'm going to put it right there. Now again, I didn't really mention, if you hover over these sliders, there's three, and it will tell you what it is. The top slider is for brightness, the middle slider is contrast, and the bottom slider is structure. I want to add a little more structure to it. Structure is very similar to clarity in Lightroom. It just kind of defines what it's affecting a little more. So, in this case, I really want those blades of grass to be well defined. So I'm going to turn structure up a little bit. So I have this one here, and if I click on the top slider, that's the size of the area being affected. So you can see I have about maybe a third of the image so far being affected. Now I want to copy this same adjustment across the rest of the grass. So you could go up here and you could click right here to duplicate the control point. But the much easier, faster, more efficient way is to hold the Alt or Option key in. That's Alt if you have a PC, Option if you have a Mac, and just click on this little button after you push that key in and you duplicated the adjustment. And I want to put it on white part of the image again. So white grass right there. And then I'm going to do it again, hold that Alt or Option key in, and we're going to bring it over to this whiter part of the grass again. Make this one a little bigger. There and there. Okay, so I have these three control points, and they're all adjusting the brighter parts of the grass. Now, as you can see right here, I have the three control points. There's one. When I click on it, it makes that control point active. There's control point 2. I'll click there. There's control point 3. If I want to see what part of the image, or better see what part of the image the control point is affecting, I could click this little box right here. And when I do that, we get this kind of negative image, and it's showing this kind of flashlight glow of where this adjustment is affecting. So any of the brighter blades of grass that are around here are being affected by these sliders. We just click it again and it turns off like that. You could click here and it will check mark all of them, and you could see we're affecting all the brighter blades of grass. All right, so we're going to turn that off. Now, we have these three control points. I want to put them in a group. So what we're going to do is we could select them all. Just click on one of either the top one or the bottom one, hold the Shift key in, and then click at the opposite end, and we selected all three. Just go right here. This will make them a group. Click there. It's called Group 1. Now, when we adjust a slider, it will adjust all three at the same time. So with brightness, watch, I'll just click on it, and as I turn it down, you can see all the grass is being affected, or all the bright grass is being affected. All three control points are being adjusted at the same time because I have it in a group. So that, saves a lot of time. All right, so I have these three control points, and I mentioned that I want to add some control points for the darker blades of grass also. So we're going to click right here to get another control point, and I'm going to pick a darker blade of grass right there. Now in this case, let's make the size pretty big like that, I think is good. Now we're going to go to the brightness slider, that first slider, and in this case I'm going to turn it down. Now can you see how it's making the darker blades of grass darker, but it's not really affecting the brighter blades of grass? Okay, can you see that? Now I'm going to overdo it a little bit, I think, just to emphasize it so you actually could see it in the video what I'm doing. All right, so I have this one. I want to again copy it all the way across. So I'm going to hold the Alt or Option key in, and I'm going to drag a new one right there on that dark blade of grass. Then I'm going to hold that Alt or Option key in again, and I'm going to pull it on that dark blade of grass. Now you can see I have all these brighter uh, blades of grass a little brighter, and I have the darker blades of grass considerably darker. Now we're going to put those in their own group also. So click on one. In this case, I'm going to click on the top one. I'm going to hold the Shift key in and click on the last one. And then I'm going to click right here to create the group, Group 2. If I want to break them out of their group again, I could click this button right here and they'll be all individual again. But I want them in a group right now because I actually made that way too dark, didn't I? So I could now go to the brightness slider here and move it to the right, and it will adjust all three of those dark points at the same time. All right. So I think that's pretty good right there. So I hope you understand the way I went about doing it. I had a game plan. I picked a preset that really made the sky look pretty much like I like it. Then I used control points to adjust the grass the way I want it. And I'm done now with the control points. I'm done with the selective adjustments. So we'll close that down. Now we went over color filters, and I just want to show you again. Now I just adjusted this the way I liked it. And all of a sudden now you think you're going in order and you're going to start adding some color filters. So you're going to add a red filter, and you just really changed everything you just did as you click through these filters. So that's why I prefer, if I'm thinking I might use a filter for some reason, I'll do it right away. And then I'll do some adjustments either globally or selectively after I add the filter. In this case, as I mentioned, no filter at all. We're just going to click right here. All right, next type is film types. I confess I don't often use a different film type. I know a lot of folks really like to check and use different film types. A real popular one is Kodak 100T Max. You could like pick this film type and it will automatically adjust these sliders so it simulates a film camera with Kodak 100T Max Pro film in it. Again though, this seems kind of counter to everything because we just did all these other adjustments and now we're going to be doing uh, you know film simulation. So I would encourage you, if you want to do a film simulation, do it relatively early in the workflow. In my case, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to keep it neutral. You can go in and adjust grain per pixel. So this is kind of opposite of way most sliders work. You're familiar with Lightroom in that. If you go to the left, it gets more grainy, as you could see. But it makes sense because it's putting one grain per pixel when I'm to the left. And when I'm at the 100, or to the right, there's 500 grains per pixel, so there's less grain. And I typically don't like grain in my image, so I will leave that alone. Also, as you go here, we could make the grain look kind of softer by moving to the left, or make it look a little harder moving to the right. Um, so you could further refine the grain by moving the soft, hard slider left and right. Um, Sensitivity, this is similar to filters. Like we'll go to the blue, and if I move the blue, you can see it's going to affect the blue sky, right? If I go this way, we'll make it darker. So uh, this is kind of like the HSL tab in Lightroom where we could actually do uh, tone mix with the image. So if we want to affect the grass a little more, we could take this yellow slider and move it to the right. You see how it's making the grass real bright. Move it to the left, make it darker. So again, if you're interested in adjusting, maybe tweaking it just a little bit, like I look at it and maybe I want the sky not quite that dark, just a tiny bit lighter. I could move this blue slider to the right. So, that's one way further to adjust the image. So uh, that is the film types tab. Next and finally, we have the finishing adjustments. Now, I should have said, I'm sorry, I forgot something. Under the Film Types tab, we also have levels and curves. And this works just like, curves in tone curve in Lightroom or curves in Photoshop. You could put points on and you could drag the thing around and get different looks to the image. I kind of like that actually. Look at that. I totally did that by accident and I kind of like that. So we're going to leave it. So you could do the tone curve. If you do put a point on and you don't want that point there anymore, just grab it and pull it right off. And let's see how that's gone. So let's do that again. I don't know if you saw that. There's a point there and I don't want it there anymore. Just grab it and pull it off. And now that point is gone. And I could put it back if I wanted to. It's saying levels too because that's these sliders right here. This far left slider, you could change your black point. And the far right slider, you could change your white point. And the middle slider is you could move where midtones come through like that. And you can just double click on it and it will default back to where it was, which is right in the middle. So kind of messed up my curve though when I was messing around. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull all these off. Okay, so levels and curves, that's what you do, and that again is under film types. I forgot to mention that when I was there the first time. Now finishing adjustments, I confess I don't do this. Toning, a lot of people like to tone an image. I toned one image in my entire life. I did a sepia tone on an image once, and it actually came out pretty good. So you could do some sepia tones, some ambro type tones, copper tones. It's actually kind of cool on this image, but you coffee tones, all different tones, seleniums. A lot of people like toning. Um, I'm just going to leave this one neutral. Now I mentioned we could put a vignette in this image if we wanted to. They have lens fall off. They have um, different degrees, black framing, stuff like that. So you could pick whatever you like. Excuse me. You could also move the slider just like you would in Lightroom to add a vignette if you so choose. I'll add a slight vignette. I often do in Lightroom, so we'll just add a slight vignette. You also could make it less of a circle, more like a rectangle by moving this slider right here. And maybe we will, just like that. As I mentioned, I just do a very slight vignette. This will affect the size of the vignette. So it's smaller when you go to the left, larger when you go to the right. So we'll leave it right about there. And as you move through, you could just play around here. You could burn the edges, like all the edges like this. It's kind of a vignette also, if you so choose. Um, you could just, do certain parts of, the top, the bottom, the left, the right, by picking one here, let's say the bottom, and I could move this to the right, make it bigger, and I'm burning in the bottom. Let's say you have something down here you don't want people to look at. You could do that by picking these four different areas, of course, left, right, top, and bottom here. Again, I don't actually do that. I really underuse a lot of the power of this program, I admit. And image borders, there's all different kinds of borders here, and I don't think I've ever put a border on one of my images, but that's just me. So you don't want to be like me, you want to be yourself. So if you like borders, pick a border by all means. You could open up the little drop down here and you could see there's different sizes, so you could like pick this and you could make it bigger or littler, and so you could really fine tune the border to your liking, make it rough or make it smooth. In this specific border, the rough and smooth isn't doing much. So probably different ones, it might uh, more affect it. You could see just slightly actually, it's making it a little rougher on that edge there. But again, borders if you so choose. And that's really it. So again, I just want to mention how I do it. I hope you could work your own workflow. Is I'll go through the presets first. And I find a preset that really affects a part of the image that I like. It's not often that I'll find a preset that really uh, like totally makes the image look gorgeous. In this case, I found a preset. I like what it did to the sky. Then usually what I'll do is I'll then go to the right, and I don't do too many global adjustments after I pick that preset. I'll go most often right to selective adjustments, and I'll adjust the part of the image that the preset didn't handle very well. In this case, I didn't like what it did to the grass area here, so I adjusted that by adding 6 different control points, 3 for the lighter blades of grass and 3 for the darker blades of grass. I could have added control points for these reeds that are up in the front or for the trees in the back. In this case, I didn't, but you could if you so chose. So I just do that, and then usually after that I'm done. But you could go through if you, especially if you put borders on yours or you like trying different film types and things like that. So I have this kind of thing I did, and let's say I like it. I could go to Custom tab, and I could click plus, and I could give it a name, and I'm gonna call it high contrast sky, something like that. I don't know. So we'll give it a name, and there it is. Now it's a uh, custom preset that I made now. So if I like this a lot, which I'm not sure I do, but let's say I did, and I could apply this now to a number of images. This comes in really handy if you took a number of images of a scene, and all the images are relatively similar. You come into Silver Efex Pro 2 one time, spend a lot of time getting your adjustments just right, create a preset. Then you could bring the other images in and you could just hit the preset. You could adjust all your images after that first image very quickly. All right, so that's what comes in really handy with the custom preset. And when you do a custom preset, um, just remember you just go down to this tab here and it's right there and you can just apply it. Simple as that. And when we're all done, we'll just click on Save. Oh, before I do, I just wanted to show you something kind of odd with the histogram and the loop. Uh, if this little box is checked right here, hopefully you could see that in the video. It's so small. That little box is checked. As I hover over different areas along the bottom, it's numbered 0 through 10. On the image itself, you'll see a specific part of the image get these slanted lines. In this case, it was the sky when I was right there. That just tells you what part of the image correlates to what part of the histogram. And that might come in handy when you're doing adjustments up above with the global adjustments or whatever, and you want to affect a certain part of the image. You could look at the histogram as you're doing the adjustments, so you know that these clouds are uh, most of the tonality is plotted around the 8th location of the histogram, like right here. And then I could go up to an adjustment and I could look for the parts or the sliders that will affect that part of the histogram most readily. Now, are you going to do that? I don't know. I know I never do, but I wanted to show you that just in case. Um, so you could just hover over these different numbers down here, and on the image itself, it will show you where it's plotted on the histogram. All right, when we're done with it, just click Save, and it just takes a second to save the image, and it will save it back into Lightroom, so you'll see in a minute. Of all the Nik plugins, I use Silver Efex Pro the most. Okay, so as you can see, it didn't create a new image. We sent over the TIFF image, so it adjusted this TIFF image. Here's the original RAW file, and here is the image we adjusted in Silver Efex Pro 2. That's why I encouraged you, if you shoot JPEG, make sure that you edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. Don't send the original image over, because when it comes back, it's going to be adjusted. And all that history panel, all that history items that were in the history tab in Nik Silver Efex Pro 2 is gone. So you really just make sure you always edit a copy. So that's very important to keep in mind. All right, so I hope I did an adequate job of explaining Nik Silver Efex Pro 2. As I mentioned, it's pretty much my favorite plugin from Nik. I use it quite a lot. Um, I'd say about half of the black and white images I create, I use Silver Efex Pro 2. There's a lot of street photography and stuff I don't bother sending those over to Silver Efex Pro 2. That I'll usually just do in Lightroom. But landscape photography, um, really it works really well. And you could do a much better job than what I did here. I just picked this image cold and went into it, and it's very difficult to be creative and try to teach at the same time. So I'm just kind of moving sliders around and not really paying attention to what they're actually doing too closely. So I hope you forgive me for that. So that's it. I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you very much for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. That's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.